The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
When small startups are startups, they need the best person and they need one of them, right?
Right. Yep.
So I was amazing at the doer part. But then as we grew, they started giving me people or opportunities to hire people.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Mitch Beinhacker, your host. And we have another great guest today. You're going to meet Emily in a minute. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably see her sitting there, but there's everything's muted. And if you're listening, leave us a 5-star review whenever you can. I don't know if you can do it on all the directories, but wherever you can, please do so. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the channel, subscribe, and keep following us so we can keep bringing you great content and great conversations like we're going to have today. So let's get on with the show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
My name is Emily Hawkins, and I have over 2 decades of experience streamlining processes, people, and teams in small businesses for productive results. I have a degree in supply chain, an MBA in global business. I've coached over 2,500 individuals and business owners to streamline those businesses, to keep more money in the business, be more profitable, and make it past the 15-year mark. That's really the goal. And I was featured in Forbes in 2020.
All right, Emily, let me turn your mic on there. Thanks for joining me. Where are you located, by the way? I didn't even ask you that.
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually
so you're on the East Coast too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Any storms down there with?
It missed where I live entirely.
Right.
My brother lives in New York and was asking me, oh my gosh, are you okay? Because there's so much devastation in the Southeast, and nothing happened here. Nothing.
Yeah, it was much more inland, right? More. Mm-hmm. Anyway, wishes for those people. So why don't we go back and talk about your background, because I know you're in corporate for a while, and then where you got your experience and how you got into coaching and so forth. Does that make sense?
I love it. Sounds
okay.
Great.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Okay.
So I started out, I want to go back to college for a minute.
Perfect.
Where many of my bad decision making started. I started out as an accounting major in college. And for anyone who knows me, they're laughing very hard right now. You do not want me to do your taxes. That is not forte. All I saw was a degree in numbers. And I thought, I love numbers. I absolutely love numbers. What I don't love is audits, debits and credits, like these different, like
T accounts.
Yeah. Oh, well,
I can't do them either.
Like,
I know.
that was a trigger word. So yeah.
Me too. I don't like it. I was a finance major, but I don't like accounting at all. Yeah,
exactly. And so I took my first semester of accounting, got a C, took the second semester, got a D. I don't think anybody would hire somebody that had those kinds of grades. I saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And I knew that I loved business and I wanted to stay in business. And my brother was actually at the same school that I was. He was a couple years ahead of me. He was a statistics major. I knew I didn't want to do that either, by the way.
Yeah.
And he said, I had to take a logistics class.
Okay.
And there's something about this that just seems like you would really like it. And so I thought, well, it's still in the business school, so I don't have to change schools or, any of that mess because I wanted to graduate on time.
Yeah.
And so I took a class and I was hooked because he was totally right. Sometimes people closest to you know you best. I love solving puzzles. I absolutely love, watching even like crime, shows on TV.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
And what I love about what I do is that it's like a murder mystery without an actual murder. So no one dies.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. I have not saved anyone's life. It's not life-threatening.
Right.
But it's really rewarding in the fact that you can really break apart the way a business works, the way different things happen in a business, and find money, find time, find better use for people. And I just, like I said, I was totally hooked. So I got a degree in.
Is that me or you? No,
it's me. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. Live recording.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
Okay.
Let me turn this off. Sorry about that.
So you took a course in logistics. So now are you a logistics major? Is there such a thing?
Yes. So when I was in school, it was called logistics and transportation. I told everyone I was going to be a trucker because nobody knew what that was.
Well, that's what you think of logistics, right? You think of the global supply chain management and getting freight from here to there. And right, that's what logistics is, isn't it? Or is it more than that?
No, it's people, processes. It's really all of that. And how I always described it in school was moving people and processes as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
They've actually renamed the degree. I went to University of Tennessee Supply Chain Management now.
Makes sense.
But at the time, it was logistics and transportation. So I was chronically explaining to people what this was. Absolutely loved it. So the grades that I was making before completely changed. And I graduated with almost a 4.0 in it because it was just like a fish finding water. I left school and started working for, I actually worked for several different Fortune 500s. I worked for Shell Chemical in Houston, Texas. I worked for Bell South, which no longer exists.
Right. No longer.
I worked for Singular Wireless, which is now AT&T Mobility. I was a part of when that merger happened, and it became AT&T Mobility. I left that organization about 6 months after they launched the iPhone. So I just kind of seeding where that was in history.
Yeah.
I left that still carrying my BlackBerry.
Yeah, right. I had a BlackBerry too. I did.
And I also worked for Carter's Baby Clothes, where I had the opportunity of working directly with Target and Walmart. And then I worked for a small startup with cell phone insurance. So kind of going back to my roots with AT&T Mobility. So all of that to say.
But that's all supply chain management stuff. But how does it supply chain management with insurance? Like they're not like shipping policies from China and then.
So it was cell phone insurance.
Okay.
And so what you have to do is you lose your phone, right? Your phone falls in the toilet. That's actually very common.
Yeah.
You call on a different device, clearly, and you make a claim. Well, we as an organization ship you a phone.
Oh, the logistics side of that.
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so I was actually the department that did all of the planning and procurement for our cell phone actual equipment.
Got
and
it.
I will tell you what's really fascinating about something like that is that you're not just planning for like forward logistics is really you're planning for somebody to buy something. Well, when a new phone launched, the math that I had to do was how many people are going to buy that phone? And then how soon after they buy it are they going to make a claim on it? And then buy that amount of inventory. So
That makes
my
sense.
mom used to call me a soothsayer. She's like, I mean, you're predicting all of these things.
Well, that's what you have to do, right?
Exactly. And what was really fun to me about that was it was a puzzle, right? It was like, how do we figure this out? And we learned over time, looking at historicals and things like that, that there's seasonality to this. By the way, Canadians will break their phones in summertime more than anyone else on earth.
You're kidding.
It's wild, but actually it makes perfect sense because I think they're cooped up all winter. And so they go outside and just throw their phones in the air. We used to joke about that. And
fun.
so I had this amazing opportunity to take this smaller organization. By the time I left that organization, we were in about 5 different countries.
Okay.
I was personally managing teams in 3 of those countries and different warehouses, all of the inventory, teams of people. I had about 25 different people. And the reason that I left that organization is because, well, I want to go back a little bit. When I started with that organization, I was amazing at what I did. I had all of these years of experience. That's why they hired me. When small startups are startups, they need the best person and they need one of them, right?
Right. Yep.
So I was amazing at the doer part. But then as we grew, they started giving me people or opportunities to hire people. And I assumed that, well, I mean, I am a great doer. So I can probably go find doers, like people that are motivated like I am.
Different skill set, big time.
Completely different.
Yeah, I know.
I did not realize this. So I developed what I will call a revolving door in my office where I chronically burned people out. I mean, I was just moving through people left and right. And I had this horrible thought, which was nobody's as dedicated as me.
Yeah, well, that's always not a good thought to have because it doesn't matter. They don't have to be as dedicated as you. But
exactly. And good people are hard to find.
Well, that's probably true. And I think we're bad. So you think the problem was your ability to like identify the person and pick the right people? Or was it because you were, your expectations were too high and you were driving them too hard? What do you think? Maybe both, depending on the person.
All of it. So what I will tell you is whatever you think, you will see.
Yeah.
So if you think that good help is hard to find,
you'll never find good help.
Exactly.
Right. Of course.
If you think that no one is as dedicated as you are, and nobody's as smart as you or as efficient as you or whatever else, that is exactly what you will see.
Yeah, because you have blinders on. You're going to be thinking, well, you're already skeptical of people walking into your office. Yeah,
exactly.
No, it's not a good way to approach things. That's for sure.
It's not. And so what I did was I said to myself after, just going through so many people in this particular day, like all of these things happening, and it was people on my team not fully understanding their roles. And again, I'm blaming them and thinking like, why do they
it's really not. It's you, right?
It was 100% me.
Yeah.
But what it took me in doing was I actually locked myself in my office and said, I am going to create a document of exactly what a dream employee would look like.
Okay.
So I open up a Word document and I start typing, they will never be late. They will never blah, blah, blah. And it all was like things that I didn't want them doing. But that's not really a dream employee. That's just a list of things that I don't want, right?
Right. Yeah.
And while I do think sometimes that's a great place to start to just get your mind working, it's not clear. You're again defining what you don't want. So that's what's going to show up for you. So I erased everything in there and I said, okay, I think if I really want to do this well, I have to list the things that I want. And so I sat there for a minute and ended up creating a 2-page document of conversations we would have, how we would interact together. What would they say to me? What kind of work are they doing? They're challenging me. They're asking great questions. They're saying things like, gosh, I wish there were more hours in the day because I love what I'm doing. So I got super granular about who these people were.
Right.
And I finished this document, so excited. And
I'm afraid this person doesn't exist, though.
oh, well, my head went a different place, which was, this is amazing, but who am I to lead them? Am I the right person?
So now you're questioning
that person. Because I can lead, subpar workers. I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But when it came to, if this amazing human being shows up, am I the right leader for them? And the answer was no. And I knew the answer was no. And when all of this was going on, I dove into the library and I read 26 different personal development books over the same time period. I'm laughing because all the books have the same answer. All of them have the same answer, which is you are the problem. But the other answer they have is that you are the solution, right? You are the one that can change. You are the one that can do all these things. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for a book that was like, yes, Fred that's sitting in cubicle 3 is always the problem.
Right.
And it's just not, right? So I realized...
Well, it's like self-help. It's not help others.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. So I realized this about myself.
Okay.
And
How
I
long
realized
is this now at this point?
This was in 2015.
Okay. Sounds right.
And it was actually the same year that my son, Mitch, was born. So,
there you go.
Yeah,
right.
He's a great kid, right?
Right.
With that name.
Right. Well, it's the only reason I said you can come on the show because you have a kid named Mitch. So, of course.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. So, and I think he could be a lawyer too, by the way, but that's a whole other.
Well, maybe we'll talk him out of that, but we'll talk about that out the show.
So in this year, just to kind of set the stage, I started the year pregnant. And in February, my son was born. I had to come back early from maternity leave because my team was falling apart. That's when I started diving into these books, read 26 of them. And then around November was when I put together that dream list, the dream employee list, and realized that I needed to change everything. In December is when I developed a plan for what I knew I needed to do to be the leader that I would want to follow. And what was great was in that same time period, 3 different people came to me in completely different ways. One was actually, referred to me. Another one was somebody in the organization. And then somebody did come from a recruiter. But those 3 dream employees showed up for me in that same month, which was amazing. So in January, this was like mid-December where, not a lot of things happened. So January, when all of these people were starting with the team, I actually reached out to my whole team and I said, all right, like I said, we're in several different states, countries. I want everybody to come into this office in January and we're going to onboard as if we've never known each other. We don't know this business. We're just going to all onboard with the new team members. And
how many people were talking about worldwide?
It was about 20 people.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay. So you flew them into wherever you were at the time.
Yes. It was in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
And we sat down and I had every organization in the company come talk to the team about what they hated seeing from my organization, what they loved to see, what was great communication, how could we help them? How could we make their jobs easier? What makes their jobs harder? Just all of these things. And I told my team, I was like, we're not going to take anything they say personally because anything that was wrong before is all my fault. So let's just all know that
let them all off
my
the hook.
fault.
Right. Yeah.
So after that, one of my seasoned employees that was absolutely phenomenal came to me and he said, this was amazing. I wish that we'd had this from the absolute beginning. And I was like, well, what if this is our beginning? What if this is our absolute new beginning? And within 90 days of that happening, we became the most productive organization in the company. My team loved the deep conversations we were having, my communication plans that I put together for them, making sure everybody was seen and heard, and that when things were addressed, they were addressed quickly. People were supported.
Right.
Well, they started telling others in the organization about me and saying, oh, if you need a career plan, if you need help with this, go talk to my boss. She's amazing at this. And enough people started doing that they said to me, I realize that you're over planning and procurement, but you feel like a life coach. And as
They
somebody
developed
who
your
has,
career for you.
yeah, well, and it was funny because as somebody with 2 business degrees, because before I started at this small startup, I had just finished my MBA in global business from Georgia Tech.
Okay.
I love a degree. I love a business degree. I don't know why. It feels very affirming and real. Whereas I told people, I said, I think that the life coaching thing feels woo woo and not real. Like that's
Like
not a
anybody
real
could be a
thing.
life coach. You could just say, I've had life experience and I can be your coach. Yeah.
And that bothered me.
Yeah.
If I was going to invest in, an attorney, for instance, I want to know that they have set for the bar, that they have certain
That would be
things.
important. Yeah.
If I go to a doctor, I want to know that they went to medical school and graduated from somewhere and that they have set for boards. And these things are important to me. And so I felt like, just to your point, saying I'm a life coach felt I needed some credibility in that space. And so I was really excited. The Robbins and Madonna's organization, which is partly owned by Tony Robbins, offered a board certification.
Yeah, there are some ways to do that, the people that are taking.
And so I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it that way. And so just like finding supply chain was a fish finding water, this was that next level for me. I felt like the processes and streamlining of organizations was really the business background. And then how to truly motivate people and work well with people to find the right people and all of that, communicate properly to them was really that life coaching certification for me. So having all of that combined, I felt like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I started dreaming about, I've helped all these people in my organization. Now people that are outside of my direct department are coming to me for help. It felt like I was taking a paycheck for the wrong things because that's not what the organization had hired me for. Right. And so I started dreaming of helping 100 people outside of the organization because that felt big to me and it felt hard. I could help a ton of people in the organization with my cushy paycheck, my salary, all the benefits and all of that. But what if I went out on my own and did it? Okay. And so this now was 2016 when all of these things were happening. I told my husband what I wanted to do. I said, give me 18 months because I'd like to match my corporate income before I leave the corporate world. And he said, I know you. I give you 12 months. I know you can do it in 12 months. And what was really interesting was, just spoiler alert for everyone, I did not match my corporate income before I left the corporate world. And the reason is because a lot of things started changing in that organization. And we typically got a bonus. And the bonuses were always fairly substantial. But in this case, it was one of the best bonuses we ever had. And it was paid out 6 months earlier than it had ever been paid out before. And my husband and I looked at that as a gift because after doing some financial finagling, I realized that we could live on it for a year. And my husband works, so it's not, just my salary, but for my piece of what we had coming in, we could make that work for a year. Yeah. And I thought if I had that year to truly dedicate and fully focus on a business, that we would be in a great spot. And so I left it ended up being in April of 2017 was when I left. And I've helped 2,500 businesses and people really streamline all of the processes and keep more money in their businesses, which is great. I was featured in Forbes in 2020. I was dreaming small. I was dreaming incredibly small. But
These are all individual business owners, solopreneurs, small businesses?
Yes. So over the years, I've worked with the gambit, like definitely all of those. What I will tell you is my sweet spot now is working with organizations that already have existing teams. It doesn't mean that they're high functioning. Most of them are not when I come in, but I need them to have already hired some people because we already know some things that aren't going to work or things that could be done better. Right. And we had talked earlier about what happens in those businesses. And I do want to share with people some of the biggest things that happen. And I feel like most business mistakes are what I will call death by 1,000 paper cuts. They are not giant things, right? They're not, I invested in this, $10 million thing and
it failed. Yeah, no, it's a combination of accumulation of a lot of mistakes, and some of them lead to other mistakes. Some of them are separate, and you just keep making them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I want to share the first one. That is the biggest. It is the death, like coffin, the last nail in the coffin. It's the first nail in the coffin too. And it's something that everyone that's listening to this or watching this now can actually go back and fix right now. And it will make a huge difference inside of your business. And it's assuming. Assuming is so incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
The majority of us, about 75%, I've read some studies on this, about 75% of our assumptions are wrong.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's that low.
Yeah. It's amazing how inaccurate our assumptions are.
Right.
And it's because we have our own story in our mind, but that's not always what's playing out in front of us. And so just like I had assumptions, good help is hard to find. No one works as hard as me. Well, those are technically assumptions, right?
Of course.
And another thing is that
they're not technically assumptions. They are assumptions. You're assuming that this person walking through your door is not going to be good enough, is not going to work hard enough, and is not going to meet your standards. So already you have a closed mind to talking with them. Yeah, absolutely.
And where most business owners are making these sweeping assumptions are, I communicate properly to my team. If things are falling apart in your business,
you're clearly not. Yeah.
Yes. So that is a bad assumption, right? And another one is my employees understand their job. If things are falling apart, then it's probably not.
Right.
So
well, it gets back to your journey through leadership and development, where you realized, I mean, look, it takes the right kind of mindset and a strong person to say, clearly this is me, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be happening. You can't come to you as a coach and say, Emily, I need your help. I'm sure it's not me, but we got to figure out what the problem. No, you got to come to them and say, listen, I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong, but I'm clearly doing wrong things. And I think leadership, especially with small organizations, is so important, right? When it comes to, what was the word you said before about, I don't know if you said it this way, but empowering your employees, or, their job satisfaction is low because they don't feel like they're part of the team. They're not like, this is great, we're doing great things. And no matter what industry that they're in. And I think a lot of people miss that, small business owners, and they're lucky enough maybe to meet you or maybe to meet somebody else along the road, but maybe not. A lot of people don't, or a lot of people can't get past the fact that it's them. It's an ego thing, or maybe it's an not uncomfortable, but insecurity thing, right? Maybe you're just too insecure to say that I'm not good at this. And you don't want to show that you're failing and so forth. And, some of those days are, I'm sure you felt the same way, right? When I have a client who says, owns up to that and said, you know what, it's me, and they start working on it, they feel relieved.
My gosh. So before I actually engage with any business, we have a call. And very similar to you and I, right? Like before I jumped on this with you, you did not just sight unseen, like, oh, let's get on this. You want to make sure I'm not a serial killer, which I'm not. That feels like laborious.
It's not in Atlanta.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I don't have time for that. So I want to make sure that businesses are getting into this with me with the right intentions. And to your point, that is incredibly important. I remember having a consultation with a client who the entire call told me how bad her team was. And there was absolutely no ownership in the situation. And so I knew this is never going to work.
You can't help her, right?
No. And so we did not engage. And that was very helpful, because if you don't see that you have ownership, and by the way, all of us have ownership in every relationship, in every situation.
Yep.
And so understanding that, back to your point, it's truly liberating, because when you let go and you say, I'm the problem, it's so wonderful, because you can actually fix that and not worry about, hurting other people or anything like that. And in fact, you're helping them.
Yeah.
So that is one of the biggest problems that I see, is this assumption that everybody knows what they're doing and that everything is working fine, and it's probably not, because things are falling apart. The communication is not what you think it might be.
Yeah. I see it very common where business owners really think in their mind, they know what their clients want, what their customers want, why they're doing business with them. I mean, they're certain about it, but it's not working. And the ones that I know that are really good at that are constantly asking their customers for feedback. And why did you do that? And what do you like this? How, I know you loved it, but how can we improve it? And this and that. And they're always doing that. And the ones that don't falter, and they 9 times out of 10, not even 75%, let's take 99% of the time, 90% of the time, they are wrong to a certain respect, right? About what the client, why the customer is doing business with their company. You know, how they're receiving the message, what it is that they're looking for, why they're usually wrong. And maybe their success is just luck or, you know, whatever. But when it breaks down, if you don't know why, then you're in trouble and you can't fix it. And it's the same thing. It's management of people. It's management of your expectations. It's believing that you don't know everything.
Yes.
You know,
and I love that you're talking about customers, because you're right. We don't listen enough to our customers. And I believe that every business has 2 customers. They have customer 1, which is the one you're talking about. Right. And then they have what I refer to as customer 0. And customer 0 is actually your team.
Yeah,
because
100%.
If they don't understand something, how are they going to serve your people? If they are putting a solution in place for your business, it's probably not going to be great for the customer. So customer 1. And so I feel like when we're hiring people, when we're communicating internally, we have to think of it as customer 0. And when we think of it that way, we're actually much kinder and we're more polite. And we see it for what it is, which is this is an opportunity to accelerate this business growth where I'm not having to do the work. So a lot of businesses talk about SOPs. That's standard operating procedures. I hate that term, just saying it, standard operating procedures. I'm asleep. Just like, that sounds boring. That sounds like, I don't know, just very like clinical or something.
It does sound clinical. Yeah.
I call it some other person.
Okay.
Because I want to set up your business so that some other person can do the work that you don't want to do.
That's the whole purpose of operating procedures, right?
Exactly.
Whether they're standard or not.
Exactly. But sometimes just reframing it that way helps business owners realize, oh, the whole point of this is so I don't have to do it. It's not just to have this in a pretty binder and like set it on a bookshelf, which by the way is not helpful.
No. They're going to be working documents, strategic plans, you know, whatever you're doing. I would say a business plan, if you do it right, should probably end up to be a volume of guides and books for your business, from employees to customers to finance to marketing, you know, product manuals, whatever. And the people that I know do that. You know, it's not like like you said, it's not like some business plan you put on a shelf and never look at it again. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that people, I knew a couple of recruiting agencies that literally would work with companies and say, listen, if you want to recruit these types of people, we need to brand your company. Not forget about branding for the customers outside the business, but you got to brand it for the employees that you want to attract to the business, the culture, the whole thing. And
I love that. Right?
Because if I always say to the client when I'm doing, and obviously I do a lot of, let's not call it coaching, advising from a lawyer standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. If you could close your eyes and imagine your company, right? Everybody's communicating. They're all on the same page. They love what they do. They're there. You know, they're helping the customers. Everything gets handled properly. So customer service is really good. What would your company look like? Do you think it would be successful? They're like, oh my God, it would be so successful. So if that's the extreme that maybe excellence is hard to reach, right? Because they always spread. Doesn't Tony Robbins say that if you shoot for excellence, you'll be great. If you shoot for greatness, you'll be good. If you shoot for good, you'll probably be fair, right? Because it just works that way. Then, you know, and then you get this. Then obviously those things work, and leadership is important, and having your people understand what's going on is important, and having processes is important. You know, I always find that when it comes to coaching and advising people, sometimes it's more therapy than it is practical. And it sounds like a lot of the stuff you do is much more, you know, practical. Like, we're going in there, we're going to increase your bottom line, we're going to make revenue better, we're going to make your employees happier, and you'll like what you're doing more. Because at the end of the day, right? I mean, if you're just burning yourself out, doing all the work yourself, and you hate what you do, then go do something else. I mean, life is just too short, you know.
Well, and I love everything you're saying because it's exactly what happens. And along the way is when we peel back the layers of the owner and what's actually driving some of these toxic behaviors. All of us do it. All of us have toxic behaviors. I'm not calling anyone out here.
Right.
But as a business owner, I like to think that when you own a business, you have put yourself in therapy on steroids. Because whatever you're doing affects so much around you so quickly that if it's not working, it's work you need to do on yourself. And so again, having that life coaching certification has actually been insanely helpful because we actually get into these core drivers of why is this happening? And why do we feel like this is effective? And how can we change it? Because I don't know about you, but when I was in the corporate world, I sat through so many, sessions about goal setting and, how to do this and how to do that. And nobody ever adopted it. And why didn't they adopt it? Because they didn't see themselves in it. It just looked like a bunch of words. It fell flat.
Right.
And one of the reasons that I created leadership and the way I do it is the first hour that I spend with any team and any business is me asking a series of questions and not doing any talking except for asking questions because I want to get to the root of, again, the people, the processes, and the systems, but what are the core drivers behind it so that we're addressing the right things in the right order.
Yeah.
And it's not just, let's just jump in and change all your processes. Let's buy this system that will solve all your problems. By the way, there is no system that does that.
Right.
Every
Of course
system
not.
on earth has one thing they're good at, and these other things that they're subpar at, and then these other things that they're crappy at, but they throw it in because somebody needed it.
Yeah.
So it's okay that you have 5 different systems in your business if that's what's working for you. There is no one-stop shop. It does not exist. I would love for an organization to come out to me and share this one-stop shop because it doesn't actually exist.
No.
But maybe that's what we need to focus on. But typically we start with the business owner and really understanding what that is. And I wanted to address one thing that you said really quickly about.
Okay. And then I want to take a break and then we're going to come back and talk more about leadership.
Let's do that. Let's take the break.
Do that?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do that. Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right. I know you were going to make a point. We're getting into things. I have a question for you, though, a business question, a business development question. So because because I was thinking about like, what's the evolution of you going out on your own and starting, right? So you're in a company, right? Mm-hmm. You have a bit of a marketplace, right? Because people know you and they see you, right? So it's referral business and people are coming in. So then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go out in the world. I'm going to find my first 100 to work with. What is that? What does that business development process look like? Like, how do you start and how did you start like finding people to work with who didn't know you, who weren't in your company? How'd you do that?
I love this question. And I will tell you that my something that I will live and die by forever is ready, fire, aim. And maybe even fire, ready, aim. Because I knew what I wanted to do in terms of leadership. I actually built the program. I left the corporate world, and within a month, I didn't even have a site that really hosted it well, but I just knew exactly what I wanted to do. So creating the workbook and creating all the stuff. When you have no business and you have no job, it's amazing how much time you have.
Oh, and yeah.
So I use that to actually create this program. And, it's funny because everything I've seen since, I still invest in these types of things to understand better about marketing and sales and this type of thing.
Of course.
But it still makes me laugh that every single program I've ever seen or been a part of, they always say that you should test things first. And that's exactly what I did. So I went out and I built this thing in a month.
Right.
And I just went on social media and I did a Facebook Live. That was the thing at the time.
Okay.
And I said, I have a program that I'm excited to bring to business owners and actually leaders in the corporate world, because at that point I was really focusing on both, trying to test things out and see what works. And here's what I want to do in the program. I want to, get you more productive. I want you to really be able to capture the ability to use your team to streamline things that are happening in your life. And I felt so excited that within about 72 hours of that post, I had 25 paying members of this course. And I was so excited. And what was funny was, like I said, I had built something out, but it was more like an outline, like a basic thing. So only after I had these paying people did I actually finish
the work
platform. Right. And then I stayed 1 week ahead of them. So I would have people do this and then ask at the end of every week, what was the most effective thing? What do you think we could do better? And then I would create it for the next week.
Right.
And that was version 1. I think now I'm on version like 35 probably, because it was constantly innovating and growing and all of these things. And so what I would tell any business owner is test it out,
right?
Run with it, use a person, ask somebody. And this is so, so important. You cannot have people do your programs for free.
Right.
They will not see the service or the product that you're putting together.
They won't put the time in either. Yeah.
Yes. Even if you're charging $50, $20, there's skin in the game.
Right.
Because if you said to a friend, I want you to join this, it's absolutely free. They're going to be like, of course I will. They're not going to show up. They're not going to do the work.
They're going to have every excuse. I'm really sorry, Emily. I meant to be there. I ran into this problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you say, I'd love for you to be a part of this and it's $20, well, either they're not going to join, and then that's a clue to you that it's not valuable what you're offering.
Right.
Or they're going to join and they're actually going to show up because they're like, oh, I paid for this.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important when you start out to charge and I would say I wouldn't go any lower than $20 unless you're doing like a physical product, but just because you need that reciprocity. I just feel like that was hugely important to me. And what I found, by the way, in doing that was that I didn't want to work with leaders in the corporate world. And that sounds crazy after everything I just shared about being in the corporate world and learning all this as a leader. But I felt like there was a lot of yes, but from those people. And what I mean is, yeah, I get what you're saying, but my boss would never let me do these things.
Right.
My company would never let me operate this way. And so they had all this bureaucracy. By the way, most of that's made up in your head.
Right.
Most companies don't actually care what you do.
They want you to be productive and they want you to be good at what you do. That's the end of the day.
I highly doubt your CEO is going to come to you and say, I have heard that you have been over communicating to your team.
Exactly. I hear your people love you. What's the matter with
what
how
is
you
wrong with this?
Yes. It's not going to happen. Right.
So I realized there was a lot of that I just quite frankly did not want to go down the rabbit hole and try to unmask. So I thought what I'd really like to do is focus on an owner or a C-level because they have all the power. And they know they have all the power. We all have all the power, right? But they know they have all the power.
And they can make decisions, right? And you can't help everybody anyway. So, might as well help the ones that you want to help, right?
Well, and I would love to tell you that I learned that just very simply by what I did. But what I did instead was the hard thing, which was all these people I tried to fix. And what I did was they came to me, these owners not owners, but business people in business world. And they said, I would love to implement this program, but I really can't do it in this job. Can you help me find another job? And I had grown this organization internally at the small startup. I had taken my department in particular from 1 to 25 people.
Okay.
I knew this process like the back of my hand. Plus, it's a process. I love processes. So I was like, well, I can build this. So over the course of a week, I built out a program that caught fire. So all of these people that I originally wanted to teach leadership to ran over to this other product and they bought this other product. And what was really beautiful about this whole situation was I learned on a grand scale how to serve people. And it also opened doors for me, the feature in Forbes, and getting in the rooms with business owners. So I actually got to be a part of several multi-million-dollar masterminds where everybody in the room was a business owner. And those very people were like, I want to buy how you run your business. I want to buy how you streamline things. And so it was really interesting. Life to me doesn't work, like up and to the right.
Right.
It's typically like this.
No, right. Life is not a straight line. Yeah.
And so what I love is that this product that I never envisioned myself building paved the way financially and from actual knowledge base of what I do today, which is exactly what I wanted to do the entire time. But I had the wrong audience, and it took me building this other program to really figure that out.
Interesting. Sounds to me like you're a problem solver. Like if you see there's a problem, an issue needs to be addressed, you're going to do it. But it might distract you from the other things, right? A little bit.
And that is such a lesson learned because at one point I had to let go of Market Me. That was the other program that I built because I knew that really wasn't where my heart was.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that's coming to your door and saying, it is time, Emily, end the program, right? That would be very helpful if it did.
Yeah.
But I just decided I am going to stop selling this. I'm actively going to stop selling this program. Anyone who's in it, by the way, anybody who was ever in that program has lifetime access to it. It still exists. But I'm not going to actively promote it or sell it anymore. And that was such a hard decision. And one of the funniest things happened to me, which was I remember praying and saying, God, send me a sign. Send me a sign that this is the right choice that I made. Literally within about 24 hours, I had a consult call with a company that was really excited about working with me in the leadership process. And this business was a sign company.
That's funny.
And so I just thought it was hilarious.
From a sign company.
Yeah. So I was like, there you go. That's so great. So, and then that was really it. That was what caught. And I felt okay finally letting it go. I still have people reach out to me all the time saying, gosh, I want to put people in your program. And it's just not, there's so many amazing people in that space that are passionate about it. I want to be authentic to what I'm doing now. And I want to make sure that people who are passionate about that space get the work that they deserve. And so I love referring people out for that specific service now.
Nice. All right, let's go back just before we took a break. You were talking about the process of asking questions and, and I think it's an important skill because as a business owner, as a leader, we tend to there's a difference between being a director and being a leader. Like directors direct people what to do. Leaders, ask questions and so forth. So I remember a story when I was at Cornell. There was, I guess, over drinks. I don't know. One of the professors from the law school and one of the biology professors were having drinks, and they got into this argument about the Socratic method. Right? With the Socratic method is exactly what you do. You just ask questions. And I was in bio at the time. So the law professor said, "I'll tell you what. We'll switch teaching our lectures one time, and I'll teach the way I teach, and you try and, I'll give you my books and you can learn the legal cases and whatever." And he didn't even prepare. I mean, he didn't know anything about biology. It didn't really matter. During the lecture, he just asked questions. He would look at something in the book and he would say, "Well, explain this to me, Emily. What do you think about that?" And afterward, we all thought it was the best lecture we ever had. The guy who went to the law lecture fell on his face. He couldn't answer, he couldn't teach anything. Mm-hmm. And, if we just ask questions, we kind of take ourselves through that process on our own. People do it for you, right? You don't have to pull it out of them. If you ask enough questions, they're going to lead you down that path. And I think it's so important.
I love that you say that in particular. Inside my leadership program, I arm every business owner with 7 essential questions. And so, again, going back to the assumptions, I'll have a business owner that comes to me and they're upset because employee X did blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And they're upset because they think it means whatever, right? And so what I have them do, and it's very hard, is ask these 7 questions in order, and they are not allowed to do anything but ask those 7 questions. And they lead into one another. But you are not allowed to give advice, to interject and start educating.
Right.
None of that. And it's
get the
so
answers.
hard.
Listen.
Yes.
Right. Be a listener.
And we'll role play it because they're like, "I just don't think this will work." And I'm like, "All right, let's play the game." And they're like, "Well, what if they say?" And I'm like, "So you
doesn't matter.
This. Right. You just keep asking." And what comes out of this is respect from the employee because they're like, "I feel heard for the first time ever. I was just able to speak and get, like you said, that richer, deeper discussion."
Yeah.
Where the person isn't interjecting with like, "Well, this is what you should be doing," or blah, 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 blah. And the business owner comes away pretty much every single time that this is done with, "I had no idea."
Right. Of course. If they do it right, if they follow your lead and listen. What do they say? God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears, so you should listen. But yeah. No, look, people tend to do that, right? Your response is to be defensive about something or to tell somebody something immediately and educate them. "Oh, no. But what you don't understand is this and that." And they don't really listen. It's like one of our biggest shortcomings as human beings, that and going with our gut. You ever, I had a guy who's a neuroscientist on the show. He wrote a book, Never Go With Your Gut.
Oh
and you need a process. You need a process for picking employees, executives, because you will make the mistake every single time. You will meet this new person and your mind will say, "This is why this guy is different than the last one that you hired that was a total flub." Even though the signs are basically the same person, because you're in a different situation and it's got to be different. So you need a process, and people don't do that.
Well, and I love what you're saying about that specific thing, because we are programmed, and this is like, lizard brain situation here, to find sameness because it's safety.
Right.
And so if you're using that in an interview process, what ends up happening is you end up hiring several different versions of yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't need another version of yourself in your business. You actually need people that are diverse in thought, diverse in the way that they do things, and have different strengths than you. Yeah. And so to your point, if you just go with that gut reaction, you're not trying to make friends. It's so great. I love when employees become friends. That's fine. this is not somebody that you want to go out to drinks with. This is somebody that you want to make sure that you don't get sued, make sure that your customers are happy, that you're using your finances correctly for inventory. There's so much more that goes into it than what you're saying, that gut reaction. And you want to make sure that you're really following through with that. So yeah, I love that.
Definitely. All right. So, Leadership is the company, right?
Yes.
If people want to learn about you, interact with you, maybe work with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So my website is Emily Hawkins, 4u.com. So it's
okay. We'll put a link in the show notes too.
Yes. And I love an assessment. I'm a huge fan of an assessment because I personally, as a business owner, don't have a lot of time. So I like pinpointing either my problems, my areas, my strengths as quickly as humanly possible and getting what I need. So I have created an assessment. It's a performance diagnostic for your business. It's 6 questions. It's super simple. I want to make sure that business owners are not trying to boil the ocean. I want to make sure that if you have problems in your business, that you're tackling the biggest one first. And so by taking this diagnostic, which you can get to at emilyhawkins4u.com/performance.
Okay. We'll put that link in the show notes too.
Perfect. You take the 6 questions and you will receive an answer. There's one of 6 areas that your business needs the most help in. So it will give you the one that you need the most help in. It's also going to give you a PDF that is going to lay out for you why this area is important, what's going to happen if you don't change anything in your business, potentially could happen, what could happen if you do fix this, and then 3 different strategies of fixing it. And this is absolutely free. You never have to talk to me as long as you live. If you don't want to, you can have this information absolutely for free. But I do offer the opportunity, if you want to take that, to actually go over those diagnostics with me in a 45-minute call that is absolutely free. Again, you don't have to do that, but it is something that we can work through together and come up with a strategy for your business. So that's the best way.
All right, great. Well, I can't thank you for coming. I assume you're on LinkedIn too. And
yes, I'm Emily Hawkins for you everywhere. So if you are Emily Hawkins at Emily Hawkins for you on every platform, you'll find me. Got it.
Okay. Well, Emily, I can't thank you enough. Hope things are great down in Atlanta. And stick around. We'll talk after the show.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mitch.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.